If you want to watch wrestling at this year's Olympics, but you don't know the rules or what's happening or what you're watching, this video will get you up to speed very quickly. Thank you to everyone who watched this video about judo, the first in my Olympic series. And if you didn't see it, I put the link to it up top and in the description. And if you missed it, it's probably because you're not subscribed to the channel. So now seems like a good time to do that. What exactly is wrestling? Well, wrestling is a grappling sport, and you probably know that because most of my audience is fans of Jiu-Jitsu and or MMA, and wrestling is a big part of both of those sports. There are two separate wrestling disciplines. There is freestyle wrestling and Greco-Roman wrestling, and we're going to talk about both, but in the broadest, most general strokes. In Greco-Roman wrestling, you can only use your arms and your upper body to attack your opponent's upper body, whereas in freestyle wrestling, you can use your legs and your whole body to attack your opponent from their upper body or their lower body. In both styles, the objective is the same. You want to pin your opponent's shoulders to the mat, or if no pin occurs, you want to be the wrestler who has scored more points after 2 3-minute periods have ended. More on the points and how they're scored in just a second. If you watched my video about judo and you know what an ippon is, you can think of a pin like an ippon. A pin ends the match immediately regardless of the score. If you hit a pin but you're losing on points, you still win the match. With wrestling, the rules and the points is where a lot of viewers feel confused and don't enjoy watching the sport. And I get it, because there's like 12 or 15 different situations where you can score 1 point if your opponent commits a very specific foul. There's times where if you hit a certain position, you can score 2 points. But then there's also times where if from standing you hit a hold or a throw or a grand amplitude throw, that can be worth 4 or up to 5 points. This video would be very, very boring if we went every single point by point and how they can be scored. So let's just look at some broad strokes. Generally speaking, you need to know that if a wrestler forces their opponent from standing to the mat, they score 2 points. And if they execute a grand amplitude throw, they can score up to 4 or 5 points. What is a grand amplitude throw? Well, a grand amplitude throw is when the person who's being thrown, their feet create an arc in the air, and the person who's being thrown's hips are higher than the attacking wrestler's hips. There should be a few examples on the screen right now for you. And when you're watching matches, if you're seeing points being scored and you're not quite sure what's happening, usually what's happening is the attacking wrestler is moving behind their opponent or forcing their opponent to a position they don't want to be in, or moving to a more dominant spot. If a wrestler is scoring points, it's because they're putting their opponent's body in a position the opponent does not want their body to be in. And again, it can get very boring in this video because there's so many different combinations of movements where you can score multiple points at one time by moving through different sequences or different positions. But just generally what you need to know is if points are being scored, it's because positions are being attained. In freestyle wrestling, if you get a lead of 10 points, you win by what's called a technical fall, which just means that you are so many points ahead, you win the match. And in Greco-Roman, you only need an 8-point lead for a tech fall. You see this happen more in Greco-Roman than in freestyle, but if the referee determines that someone is being too passive in the match is paused, and the passive wrestler starts with their stomach on the ground, and the not passive wrestler has 30 seconds to lift them or reverse them or score points on them. This rarely happens in freestyle. You see it more in Greco-Roman. So if you're wondering why did they pause the match and a guy had to lay down on his belly, it's because the referee determined he was being too passive in the match. I think you should watch both disciplines. I enjoy watching both, and I think the fact that they have, different rules means different things happen and there are different strategies at play, so it's a lot of fun to watch both sports. If you can only watch one and you like throws and you're fine with a, usually lower scoring match and maybe a slower pace, then Greco-Roman might be for you. If you're someone who likes more high scoring matches, a faster pace, and a little bit more action, then check out freestyle. But again, just watch both. And since we're talking about the things that you should watch, I think you should watch one of the 2 videos that just popped up on screen and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. But that's just me. Do what you want. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.